for that itch.
Rarely do I see any American Italians eating here.
But I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
Villkoret är att jag får leva.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Welcome to Real Genius. I am Chris Vognar, culture critic for the Dallas Morning News and possible starting center for the Dallas Mavericks.
I'm Robert Wilonsky, digital managing editor of the Dallas Morning News, and I never get tired of watching you run alongside Cary Grant in that opening sequence.
It is kind of me and Cary. We're pretty tight.
Yeah, it's quite a jog.
We're talking about
It's also, by the way, a jog that suggests you in no way, shape, or form will you be the starting center for the Dallas Mavericks, regardless of what happens to DeAndre.
Yeah, I know.
Jordan.
I can always dream a little dream.
Yeah, like Fletch.
We are talking about Dirk, though. The great Dirk. We're talking about Nowitzki.
The one person we know will be in a Dallas Mavericks uniform next
forever.
season. Yes.
Because he's awesome, because he's Dirk. Nowitzki, The Perfect Shot. It's a new documentary about Dirk Nowitzki. It played at the Dallas International Film Festival.
I feel like it's about 10 years old.
I know. It's been floating around certainly in our headspace for a while now. It's a German-produced film.
The German premiere was like a year ago.
Yeah, I know. But,
I feel like it's just been around a long time.
And then it showed at DIFF in April. Shout out to DIFF there.
And it finally
James
opens
Faust.
here this weekend.
There you go. Yes, it opens in theaters this weekend. Curious to hear what you think about it. I found it a little bit scattered, but I was kind of charmed by its eccentric curviness. I thought it was so unlike most of the kind of NBA sanctioned basketball documentaries that you see here and there that I ended up being quite charmed by it. And plus I'm a big Mavericks fan, so it's preaching to the choir.
Well, first of all, I'm always charmed by you, and I'm a big fan of yours. But before we talk further about it, let's watch a clip.
Let's do it.
From Nowitzki, The Perfect Shot.
Yeah.
Legendary, for sure.
He has that talent along with the dedication to be one of the best players. It's tough to defend, and it's a great thing to watch.
What's good about the documentary, it's filming you on everyday life. I was a little overwhelmed. I think it's a little strange to kind of see your whole life go by you.
31 points, 13 boards for Dirk Nowitzki. We're going to see you back here in the NBA?
Oh, I hope so. I don't know yet.
This guy shoots the ball like no big man we've ever seen.
And it's amazing. Knowing him, you're like, man, how's he able to do that? And he goes out there, he'll draw 30, 40 points, and it looks easy.
I'm usually a very private person, so why they talked me into it was once I retire, they don't have all the good footage. They filmed some of the games with like an extra super slow-mo camera that was like unbelievably big and expensive, so he was sitting over there on the sideline. And if I would have retired already, they would have never gotten those great scenes.
So, I was covering the Mavericks for The Observer when Dirk got drafted.
98.
Yeah, so I was...
By the Milwaukee Bucks.
Right, the whole tractor trailer.
Tractor trailer.
Right, but the question was with Paul Pierce. I mean, that was also the draft of Paul Pierce. I remember I was actually on my way to a screening at the Webb Chapel during the draft, right when Dirk got selected, or right when the whole thing, the tractor trailer and the whole... I just remember thinking, God, who's this guy?
What has Nelly done to us now?
Right. What crazy magic has he tried to work
What large
here?
white European has he bestowed upon us?
And I thought, this is awful. And then I was with Dirk a lot in the locker room during that first season, when he was a very awkward, very non-English speaking young German. And I kept thinking, this is going to be a disaster.
And here we are 17 years later.
And he's the most beloved figure in Dallas sports history outside of Roger Staubach and Troy Aikman.
The seventh. I think he may have overtaken Troy, but that's a debate.
Troy's got 3 titles.
I know.
In this town, titles tend to make you more beloved the more you have.
Dirk is so humble, though, and it's almost a cliche by now.
Well, let's talk about that.
He seems like such a dude, such a real dude.
That's the one thing about this documentary. It's very charming, and it's an hour and 47 minutes.
A little too long.
It's an hour 47 about how charming Dirk Nowitzki is, how humble he is, how gentle a giant he is, how infallible he is, save for a dalliance with a con artist a few years ago, and that actually kind of does touch on that briefly.
To its credit. It jumps in.
There are a few moments here and there.
It's authorized. There's no question about that. It's an authorized documentary.
It's so authorized that I can't believe Dirk isn't running the projection at the Magnolia on Friday.
Well, the person who actually might be running the projection at the Magnolia on Friday is Holger. I mean, he's the one who he's sort of the engine behind this documentary. Holger Geschwinder, his mentor,
I just had one
and
at
good
lunch.
friend.
It was delicious.
There you go. He really apparently is the guy that launched Dirk into this project, and Dirk was kind of like, I don't know, maybe we should do it after I retire. I don't really like cameras around me all the time, and they talked him into doing it. But you know, like you said, we both watched this guy turn into the player that he is over the last almost 2 decades, and he's now the 7th leading scorer in NBA history, which is insane.
And he's the nicest guy in the world.
And he is the nicest guy in the world.
The problem, you walk over this documentary, that's all I can think about is, God, what a nice guy.
Yeah.
I run into him every now and then at Preston Royal. What a nice guy.
There's not a lot of drama.
What a nice guy.
Yeah, Dirk would probably not make a great 30 for 30 because there's not any heavy drama in his story.
He would make a great 8 for 8. I mean, the problem is this thing is way too long. I mean, I liked it a lot. I love Dirk, but it's just way too long. It's just a lot of, it covers, it feels like a lot of the same ground. And I'm not quite sure how many slow motion shots I can take of Dirk taking the same shots.
Apparently they had these great slow-mo cameras that they had to use.
Over and over again. It's like they just, I feel like I'm watching the director's cut. I mean, because there's nothing I feel like that got cut out of this.
Let's just say there's on-court drama in his life because they had the horrible loss in 06 to Miami.
And it covers it.
Then the horrible loss to the Warriors in 07.
Covers it.
Covers that. And then he brings the Mavs their only title.
Covers it.
In 11. So yeah, it covered.
It's all covered.
All that. I was just thinking
it's
about
all there.
My no drama statement. I was thinking more on a personal level.
How his dad was his handball coach, wouldn't let the trophy that sat there for decades. How his dad was very disappointed about not being his coach. I mean, it's not exactly,
hard-hitting,
the
investigative,
deepest, darkest drama going on in Dirk Nowitzki's life.
And again, would I recommend this film to somebody who is not a basketball fan?
No.
Or somebody who's not a Mavericks fan?
No.
Probably not.
No, the answer is absolutely
not. But I
not.
am both
a
Mavericks fan and a big basketball fan, so I have to say that I enjoyed.
How many times have you watched it?
Watching it, I've seen it twice now. I watched it when it showed at the festival, and then I reviewed it for this week, and I gave it a B+. I reviewed it, I watched it again, so I could have it fresh in mind. It's definitely not a perfect documentary. A perfect shot is not a perfect film.
It is like Dirk. Wildly affable.
Yeah, very affable. That's very professional.
It is
very down to earth.
It's very no nonsense. It's very it does its job.
It's got a little I like the whole. I think the point where I realized I really liked this movie is when they go visit the 92-year-old retired podiatrist who hit like 2,700 consecutive free throws.
Right.
I mean, those are the kinds of detours that I find charming.
Comparing
in a
his
film
shot
like
to
this.
a jazz to a sax solo is nice. I mean, look, there are a number of great moments scattered throughout it. It just could have used about 47 minutes worth of tightening.
Yeah, I could say. I think most documentaries should probably be cut at about the 90-minute point. I think that's pretty safe. It's often
except Salesman.
Salesman
should never have ended.
There's always going to be exceptions. So yeah, I think 107 minutes. I think this clocks in at a little too long.
It's 147 minutes.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I meant. Yeah. 147.
I'm sorry, it's an hour 47.
Hour 47. Yeah,
it's
147. I'd be like 2.5 hours.
No, it's an hour. Wow, it's an hour 47.
It went by much faster.
It felt a little longer than an hour 47.
Yeah,
like an hour 49.
So you think the Mavs are screwed?
Are we just going to talk about that?
We don't.
By the time people watch this, we'll know.
We're taping this on the day of Jordan Gate. We're trying to figure out if our star center will be defecting.
Well, look, if nothing else,
it's going to be bad for the league.
If he decides to stay with the Clippers, Mavericks fans won't want to watch any games, so you can just watch this every couple of days.
There you go, on a loop.
Yeah,
and then we can watch the draft lottery.
That's right.
Next year,
so just watch watch Nowitzki, the perfect shot, over and over and over again.
Unless DeAndre Jordan actually stays, then.
In which case, who cares?
That would be cool. Nowitzki, the perfect shot, real genius, the perfect hosts. See you next week.